just moving quickly on, if I can ask Beatriz to come and make her presentation. And just to let you know, we haven't forgotten about the questions from the previous session, but Sir George needs to leave shortly and he needs to chair the next session. So we'll take those questions, just hold them and we'll take them after the next session.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here, and I want to start with just a little story. When my home organization began, the Inter-American Heart Foundation, 23 years ago, we started with a variety of programs, educational programs for children, for doctors, and so on. Then we smarted up and we said we really need to focus on advocacy and we need to focus on policy change. And the organization that helped us the most at that time to learn about advocacy was the Canadians. The Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada supported our organization in becoming competent in the area of advocacy. Well, since then, there's been much water under the bridge, and I just had a meeting not too long ago of the World Heart Federation. And some of the Canadians that I knew from years ago were there. And they started talking about the plans that they had for obesity prevention. And I was astonished. First they said, we want a sugar beverage tax, just like Mexico. And then they said, and we want front of the package labeling, just like Chile. And then they said, and we need to develop nutrition guidelines, just like Brazil. I said, oh my gosh, we must have arrived and we didn't know about it. I was just amazed that here our teachers have all of a sudden gotten something back, you know, from our region, from the Latin American region. And I think these sorts of interactions between regions and between countries help us all in understanding and being better at what we do. We've done a fair amount in policy change, but I have to tell you, we have many, many challenges, just like the Caribbean does. So I think in telling you a little bit about what Latin America is doing, it's not better, not worse. It's just for you to pick what you think might be helpful to you. I've been learning a lot from you just being here these last few days, and I'm terribly thankful to Sir Trevor and Maisha and others that got me here. So I've learned a lot, and I hope to be able to say a few words about where we are, and it might help. This is the last meeting that we had in Montevideo, Uruguay. This is the Healthy Latin American Coalition Group. This is not a legal entity. It is a coalition developed by the Inter-American Heart Foundation, my home organization. In this group that met there, the group is much larger. We're talking 250 organizations. But in this group that was there, we had many lawyers, we had economists, we had people from the Pan American Health Organization, we had people from UNICEF. If you look at this guy here to the right, that is Senator Guido Giraldi from Chile. And he is famous for saying that Coca-Cola is a pedophile organization. And he speaks like that all the time. One of the things that we did is we developed certain position statements. We developed 3. One is around interference of the industry, particular industries. I should say, I taught at a business school. I am a small business person. I am not against business. But one of the things that I taught and I learned is that businesses have to adapt to the times. And when we are talking about an epidemic of NCDs, we are talking about an epidemic of obesity. The writing is on the wall. Those companies have to know that they have to change. This doesn't mean all companies have to change, but these particular companies have to take a look at what they are doing, and they need to respond to a changing world. They are like the slide rule companies, or the ones that have the little horse carriages. If you do not change, you disappear. The second position statement was around the topic of protecting and promoting health and in sustainable diets. And oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. You want to help me? Okay. The second was on protecting and promoting healthy and sustainable diets. And the third was around sustainable development objectives, particularly looking at intersectoriality. So what we did about the UN high-level meeting was at the Sharjah NCD Forum organized by NCD Alliance, we had a group of people from our region, from CLAS, from the Healthy Latin American Coalition, and we agreed that we needed to mobilize the whole region, our Latin American region, and we came up with two objectives. One is that we needed a communications campaign to build awareness, political commitment, the participation of heads of a state. And we saw an opportunity in an event that just happened a couple of weeks ago. The event was the Summit of the Americas. I think many of your heads of a state, many of your ministers were there in Lima, Peru, just recently. The second objective is to continue to strengthen the region, because we thought if we had wins, that will help at the UN high-level meeting. Political processes free of industry interference. This continues to be a theme in our region, and engagement of key groups. We organized, how did we organize? Initially, just this little square at the center. We were Healthy Latin American Coalition, period. But then we realized that group was very large to be able to move rapidly on issues. So we created the CLAS advocacy group, right at the top right. More recently, last January, we decided that if we were going to do a campaign, develop information, figure out how we were going to do that, we needed a CLAS communications group. And that one has communications experts from all over the region. And we also have various groups that want to specialize in different areas. So we have CLAS alcohol, CLAS physical activity, and CLAS patients, or CLAS people. CLAS people, I'm sorry about that. The communications group came up with a communications brief. They are experts at that. I'm not going to read all of this, but since the Summit of the Americas was on corruption, governability, and sustainable development, we connected health to corruption. And we said, yes, corrupt governments make their resources, waste their resources. And corrupt governments listen maybe to some interest over the health of the public. So we did some things to be able to say, you know, what those communication messages should be. At the Summit of the Americas, there were civil society coalitions. We were coalition number 13, the only coalition regarding health. There were 28 coalitions in Lima, Peru. So we focused on looking at how to work together with tuberculosis, how to work together with rare diseases. And I thought that worked out fairly well, considering that we had some differences. We put together a manifesto to the presidents of the American continent, and health first was our theme. A healthier world is possible. And we made it more emotional than the kinds of things that we write usually. We wanted people to feel that as a result of these diseases, you get fewer hugs. You don't live as long. Your quality of life is poorer. So we want more hugs. We want to have the opportunity to see our loved ones and live. And From there, we said the response is slow, it's insufficient, and what do we ask governments? We ask to take responsibility for NCDs, concrete and effective strategies, and we know we have those, and for the presidents to attend the high-level meeting. At that event at the Summit of the Americas, we did an event on NCDs, and then we also participated in the summit in the Civil Society Forum. In the photo below, you see there Ambassador Hugo Queiroz, who I know spoke very well of Ambassador Hart here about, I think we got two champions that can really help move this forward. Here is the group showing the manifesto. There was a press release on the manifesto. There was another one on front of package labeling, social media, and it got picked up by a number of newspapers and media in the region. Very briefly, what we do to be able to advance and get more wins in the region, one of the methods that we use is this rapid regional response to strengthen and defend national NCD policies. And it's to promote the adoption of evidence-based policies, and it's also to protect public policies from the interference of commercial interests. The rapid response is very simple and is very cheap, I have to say. We get an email alert, sometimes from PAHO, sometimes from a country, NCD Alliance in a country. We gather the members that need to deal with that particular issue. And sometimes we need the lawyers, sometimes we need economists, sometimes we need epidemiologists, health. Whomever we need to address that issue, we bring them together and we talk, what should be the strategy here? We meet with the people in that country to do that. And we decide on a response. The response might be a letter, it might be social media campaign, it might be whatever. And the coalition members follow up with these actions. I'm usually acting as a facilitator and mobilizer to be sure that things get done, but there is a lot of people that participate in doing this. We archive all of our advocacy actions in a Dropbox so that it's available to all of the members. To give you some examples, we had letters going to Mexico's legislators to not decrease the soda tax, and that was successful. We had a campaign to stop a move by the Ministry of Finance in Ecuador to change front of package labeling to accommodate the industry, which was, we knew it was a label that was not going to work. Then we supported Educar Consumidores, a consumer organization in Colombia, by denouncing the censoring that they got of the educational campaign on sugar-sweetened beverages. That ended up all the way to the Supreme Court of Colombia. And the Supreme Court decided in our favor. They said that it couldn't be censored and it was a public education campaign. And there are others, to Peru, to Chile, to nutritionists that many times have lots of conflicts of interest. What's coming up, and this is my last one, is policies. We will continue to advance policies in the region to have more wins, because I think that will motivate high-level people to be there. The more wins you have, the better you're going to feel about going. Campaign, we need to refocus the campaign because it's been focused on the Summit of the Americas. Now we need to refocus it on the enough campaign of NCD Alliance. We got to make the investment case well. Heads of the state, we need to mount a targeted effort to encourage participation. Outcome document, we hope to, the shadow report to the UN high-level meeting, why we're not there yet. And we are working with a group that is doing that. The rapid response, we will continue to denounce attempts to weaken NCD policies. And that is something we will do for you, as well as we will do it in our region or in other areas. And we need to expand and mobilize the network, keep them informed, promote concrete actions, and particularly reach people beyond health, beyond us. Thank you.